Alright, BCA-101, day 31. This was Wednesday, and I guess that would have been the 5th. We started talking about security. So the first thing we did was we just discussed security in general. The students, we thought of some ideas we looked at. Now we're starting another unit. This is unit 6 of 7 units. Actually, we have a small unit 8. So it's very important to read the intro information, the introduction information to the unit. So you start and work your way through the modules so you get an idea of where we're going. Alright, so then we started talking about security. So I said, what do we want to secure? So we want to secure an asset. In this class, it's going to be data. Okay. So we said, is there a threat to the data? Is there something that can happen to your data? And later on, we're going to talk about either somebody could look at your data, somebody can change your data. Okay. Look at would allow them to actually steal the data, if you want to think of it that way. Is there a threat to that? Is there something? And is it data you want to protect? You know, a lot of people, you look at a piece of data like your cell phone number. I mean, you protect that a little bit, but not completely, right? You give it to lots of people, have your cell. Okay. So it's different, you know, and what kind of threat can there be for that? Well, you can start getting spam calls, I suppose. Next thing, can somebody carry out the threat? If there's a threat to your data, can somebody carry out? Like your Social Security number, okay? Can somebody get that? You know, a threat is to lose your Social Security number, you know. And is there somebody that can carry that out? All right? Now here's a crazy thing. Is the data here in Mason City vulnerable to a hurricane? No, but data in Miami or the Caribbean? Yeah. Okay, so the threat can be destroying the data. The agent could actually be weather, possibly. How vulnerable are you? What's, you know, could that happen? And typically, you know, what will it cost you if it happens? But money, but that could be reputation, lots of different things. So then, we look at the risk. What's the risk that's going to happen, and then we decide what we can do to protect the data. We talk more about that later on. Actually, we will on Friday. Excuse me. All right. The data then, it's all different nowadays. It's all digital, right? The data is a bunch of ones and zeros. Yeah, so this data is ones and zeros. So we're concerned about where it's stored, when we're moving it, and while it's being processed. Believe it or not, when it's in your computer and being processed, it can be vulnerable there too. So these are the 3 states that we should be concerned about of our data. And what do we need to worry about? Is the data accurate? Make sure data hasn't changed. You have it stored, and then when you go back to get it, nobody's changed it. Nobody's changed it in transit. Like you're going to make a deposit to an account, or your paycheck's being transmitted, right? That's data being transmitted electronically from one bank to another. you know, from your employer's bank to your bank while it's in transit. You don't want the account number to change, so it goes into somebody else's account. And we can give an example of when it's processed, like debit cards, when they're being processed. That data is not necessarily stored, not really in much transit when it's in at the checkout. And there is a possibility, like at Target, there's a little piece of software that when those cards are being slid, it was copying the information. Next thing we want to be concerned about is confidentiality. You don't want people to see the data that aren't supposed to see it, or be able to grab the data and use it. The data is confidential. It's only meant for these particular people and nobody else. Okay? We will talk about later on much more about authentication. Okay? Identify who you are in order to manage these two things. One thing I didn't mention here on the whiteboard, available. A lot of data needs to be made available. If you didn't have to make data available, you could keep it pretty secure. Alright. So, just about done here. We have how do we manage data? I got a bunch of P's here. We can use products and devices, firewalls, virus software, all kinds of products, software, and devices to help us secure our data. That can actually be like securing the machine. You know, don't let somebody at your machine. You can have passwords and so forth. The next key feature are people. Probably the most important thing. You know, like updating your passwords helps secure your data, but a person, typically you have to do that. Okay, we're going to talk more about that later on, but people are a key facet of this. Okay, people can be tricked into giving information which allow then people to get at data who aren't supposed to. So we have procedures to help these people manage security. And what do they follow? Either a policy or a guideline. Guideline, this is what you ought to be doing. A policy sometimes is a rule. And we'll review these again as we move along. So change your password every 30 days could be a policy. And then there's some procedure that allows you to do that. When a company is compromised and their data is stolen, there are procedures they must follow in order to actually, by law, if a certain value or number, I'm not sure how that goes, but somewhere they have to divulge that. They have to make it public that they were hacked. Okay. And we see examples of that all the time. Alright, so in this unit we are concerned about data and how we store it digitally, okay, how it's stored or while it's moving, like through networks, like the internet, and the whole idea of who can see and what can they legally do with what they see, and is it accurate. Okay, you don't want people taking data about you and changing it into something different. Alright, lots of examples that we'll talk about in this unit. That's it for today.